Still with me in studio is security analyst Yaakov Lapin, as well as joining us now, Marc Schulman, author of the Tel Aviv Diary, as well as a columnist at Newsweek. Marc, thanks for joining us now, especially on the back of Rubio's big visit here to Israel. Many people are painting it as a solidarity visit, while also getting on the same messaging when it comes to Israel. We heard U.S. President Donald Trump say Israel must be very careful with how it handles Qatar, because Qatar is a great U.S. ally. But how then does the Trump administration, the United States, actually balance this relationship between two allies, Israel and Qatar?
It's very difficult. Let's start with that. It's very difficult, more so the more times that Netanyahu says that Qatar is an enemy. I mean, he repeatedly says it's an enemy. I mean, it's an enemy. Why was his closest aides getting paid by Qatar? I mean, it's in a strange, strange situation. If I was writing a novel, it would never be published. No one would say this is possible. So the reality is it's a very difficult time balancing the two. Rubio, don't forget, he's looking beyond Trump. He's one of the two people who thinks he could be president after Trump, so he's also playing to the base, so to speak, and the pro-Israel base within the Republican Party, which may be shrinking, which is something we have to worry about. So he's playing it very close to the vest on one hand. He wants to show his support, and he wants to show Trump's position, which is unknown, to be quite honest. You know, very much so. What's American policy? Well, you need a psychologist to figure out what President Trump is thinking today. So we don't really know. We don't know there was a meeting between President Trump and the Emir of Qatar. Nothing at all came out of that meeting, and there was no leaks whatsoever. So we have no idea, other than said it was a very good meeting. So we don't know what took place. We don't even know how upset the Qataris really are or not. We don't know how much it's a show, how much is real. You know, too much of what goes on in the Middle East is a shadow boxing situation. We don't know
what's happening in those doors,
we just see
in those
publicly.
Conversations.
On the other hand, the fact that there was a meeting today that put in the same room the president of Iran, the leaders of Saudi Arabia, you know, Sunnis and Shiites, all together in one room, and we've spent years trying to navigate so the Sunni states are our allies against Iran, and look what we managed to do, at least publicly, in one action. So we set back a lot of our attempted diplomacy in 5 minutes, frankly, by what we did in Qatar. So, look, we're in a period of complete unknowns.
Oh.
That's the reality. Total unknowns. We only know that things are not getting any better. Other than that, we can't really think forward what's going to happen.
Yes, if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that we don't know what the future holds.
That is for sure. And we also know we wake up every morning, the first thing is grab the phone and make sure nothing terrible has happened overnight. And that's the reality of that's if we weren't woken up in the middle of the night by a Houthi missile. So,
yeah, Yaakov, when it comes to this security coordination, then, that we're not only seeing between Israel and the United States, also the United States and Qatar, when you talk about not only the diplomatic balancing act that the United States is playing, but the security balancing act. The United States, Israel, both trying to distance the Trump administration from this attack. What do we know about the security coordination then between all three of these countries?
Well, look, I think that, we have to look at the interests that are behind closed doors, as was just alluded to, and those haven't changed. The Emiratis and the Saudis are threatened by Iran, remain threatened by the Houthis, are threatened by the Islamist Sunni jihadists like Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. But they're also threatened by Arab public opinion. So whatever security coordination is continuing with the Gulf countries that are in the Abraham Accords is going to be very low-key, behind closed doors, not for public consumption, not for domestic consumption. And the United States itself, the Trump administration just recently, in recent months, concluded a $1.2 trillion economic exchange package of deals, mega deals involving the Boeing company and offshore energy companies that the United States are playing a part in. And so the Trump administration is walking this tightrope. It wants to continue the economic benefits of having a relationship with Qatar, which continues to host CENTCOM, while also, gently wrapping Israel on the wrist. This is a very gentle rebuke. I didn't see any signal of a real crisis between Washington and Jerusalem. We know what the Trump administration looks like when it's angry at countries, and this isn't it. This is not what that image looks like. So we're seeing this balancing act, and at the end of the day, I think that we're going to see more of the same. And regarding security, the situation regardless of the diplomatic noise, and which is significant, I don't deny that at all, but the security situation of Israel has improved dramatically over the past 2 years. The entire Iranian axis, which was surrounding this country from the north, from Hezbollah, from Syria, from Gaza, and Iran itself, the Iranian mainland, most of those capabilities have been destroyed and degraded. And that is going to have an effect in the future when this war dies down on these other relationships, but it won't happen now as long as this is a boiling issue.
Also, keep in mind the fact that our successes sometimes are our weakness with these people. In other words, at this point, we were so successful, we've eliminated some of the threats that existed. So wait a second, we don't have to be so close to the Israelis. It costs us domestically. So we need to be, it's a real balancing act at this point, because they may need us a little less right now because of all of our successes. So, and also we're a little bit harder to gauge what we're going to do, the other part.
Mark, also, just quickly, when we heard from Netanyahu talk about this blockade led by Qatar, then trying to show this strong U.S. support and also paint them the common enemies. He said not only Qatar, but China also all involved in this blockade against Israel. I hadn't heard a statement like this coming from the prime minister before.
No, absolutely not in terms of China. Look, we have a problem with China probably in terms of TikTok. There's a TikTok problem that's affected our support amongst young people in the world. Is it the Chinese government that's doing it? We don't know, but it's a possibility. We do not want to make an enemy of China. China is a strong power. We need to, balance that very, very carefully. So we should not throw China as one of our potential enemies. Look, he blamed two things. He said we were about to become the super Sparta. He said we'll become the super Sparta, we're going to be limited, and he blamed both social media led by Qatar, which is true. Qatar has been behind a lot of stuff all over the world. China, to be determined, I'm not quite sure. And then he blamed the fact that all of the Muslim immigrants coming into Europe and the European governments are too weak, and so therefore they're willing to work against us. Of course, the only thing he didn't blame was anything we've done. It was one of these strange speeches. I mean, you can support what we're doing or not support what we're doing, think we're doing is good or bad, but the reality is it's certainly impacting public opinion in Europe. You can't ignore that fact. You can't say, "Oh, it's just the Chinese." No, it's the pictures they're seeing every day. Whether we're right in doing it or wrong in doing it, that has a huge impact, and we need to at least understand that and admit it, and not say, "Oh, it's all those people." We're never responsible for anything.
We have to look at the whole picture when it comes to what we're seeing in the world. Marc Schulman, thank you so much for giving us your analysis on what we're seeing with the United States and how it plays into what's happening here right now. Thank you. Well, there's